Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into something that sounds, well, completely made up. It's one of the most bizarre and unbelievable events in recorded history. It honestly reads like a twisted fairy tale, but I promise you it is absolutely real. We're going to unpack this medieval mystery, and as we do, you're going to see how it reveals a permanent and kinda terrifying feature of the human mind. So, picture this. It's Strasbourg. It's a sweltering hot July in 1518. A woman named Frau Trophäa steps out into the dirt streets of her city, but she doesn't head to the market and she doesn't stop to chat with her neighbors. Instead, for literally no apparent reason, she just starts violently dancing. There's no music playing, no joy on her face. It's just this frantic, completely involuntary movement, and she just can't stop.
Part 1. The Outbreak. Strasbourg, 1518.
This is the setup for what basically became a 16th century horror movie. Just look at how fast this escalated. Frau Trophäa danced all by herself for almost a week. But then a neighbor joined in, then another. Within just 1 week, 30 people were dancing day and night in the streets. A month in, we're looking at 400 citizens caught in this inexplicable frenzy. And the physical toll was just unimaginable. We're talking about people dancing on bloodied feet, their bodies totally giving out, unable to stop until they literally collapsed. By August, the authorities were dealing with sudden deaths, people dying from extreme exhaustion, heart attacks, and strokes.
Section 2. Flawed Remedies. Curing the Curse.
Now, what's really interesting about this is how the authorities tried to handle it. Faced with hundreds of citizens literally dancing themselves to death, they were totally bewildered. They were stuck between the two dominant theories of the day. On one hand, you had astrology and religion, right? The belief that this was a demonic curse or maybe some dire cosmic event caused by the planets aligning. On the other hand, you had the medical physicians. They leaned heavily on the ancient humoral theory, and they concluded that this mass hysteria was caused by an overheated brain, a condition they literally called hot blood. So the city council decides to trust the doctors. But their medical logic led to a disastrously wrong conclusion. Think about it. If the blood is too hot, how do you cool it down? Well, they thought you had to burn off the energy. So the officially prescribed cure for the dancing plague was, you guessed it, more dancing. No, really. They actually built wooden stages right in the middle of the city. They hired professional musicians to play a beat. They literally encouraged the afflicted to dance day and night to just sweat out the disease.
As you can probably imagine, providing a stage and a literal soundtrack to a mass panic, yeah, it didn't cure anyone, it just made the epidemic infinitely worse. The music and the spectacle drew even more people in, fueling this massive hysterical frenzy until the death toll started to climb even faster. Finally realizing their massive miscalculation, the city council panicked, abruptly reversed course, and completely banned all public music and dancing. Desperate for anything to work, the authorities pivoted away from medicine entirely and turned to religious rituals. They stopped the music and organized a pilgrimage for the most severely afflicted to the shrine of St. Vitus in the nearby town of Savernay. Now, St. Vitus was the patron saint of epilepsy, and a lot of folks believed he was the one who actually cursed the city. At the shrine, the dancers went through this whole ritual. Prayers, incense, they even received these blessed red shoes. And astonishingly, this psychological and spiritual uplift was exactly the circuit breaker their minds needed to finally calm their bodies.
Section 3. The Real Culprit. A Perfect Storm of Despair.
You know, it is incredibly easy to look back today and dismiss these people as just superstitious peasants. But they weren't crazy. They were human beings breaking down under an absolute storm of misery in the Alsace region between 1516 and 1518. Let's look at what they were dealing with. A terrible winter caused grain prices to double, which sparked a devastating famine. So, while starving peasants are watching grain convoys head off to market, their communities are simultaneously getting hit by lethal outbreaks of smallpox, plus this mysterious, deadly disease they called the English sweat. To survive, hungry families had to take out loans from the church, falling into crushing debt to a corrupt clergy that literally threatened them with excommunication. Add to all of that the looming threat of massive, violent peasant uprisings against the elite, and you have a society pushed to its absolute breaking point.
Now, some modern historians have tried to explain away the dancing with the ergot poisoning theory. That's the idea that the peasants accidentally ate bread infected with a toxic mold that causes spasms. But here's the thing. Ergot poisoning cuts off your blood supply. It causes gangrene. It absolutely does not explain the incredible, sustained physical endurance of people dancing for days on end. No, the astonishing reality here was a psychological fracture. The sheer, overwhelming stress they were under, combined with this deep cultural belief that God and the saints were punishing them, it literally manifested as an uncontrollable physical compulsion.
Section 4. History's Mass Hysterias, a Historical Pattern.
Because here's the crazy twist. The Strasbourg glitch is not some isolated incident from the medieval past. It's actually a permanent feature of the human operating system. We see this psychological breaking point happen over and over again, constantly adapting to mirror the specific fears of whatever era it's in. Just look at Salem, Massachusetts in 1692, where fears of frontier wars and a brutal winter led to girls convulsing and claiming invisible agents were pinching them. Or let's jump to Germany in 1892. Young schoolgirls suddenly developed uncontrollable writing tremors in their hands. It was basically a subconscious, physical escape from a grueling new teaching method that treated the mind like a muscle needing endless exercise. Or how about Mattoon, Illinois in 1944? Right at the height of World War II paranoia, an entire town suffered from leg paralysis and nausea because they were convinced a rogue agent was spraying poisonous gas through their windows. Spoiler alert, the mad gasser never existed.
And we see this exact same pattern carry right into the modern era. In 1962, workers pulling heavy overtime in a U.S. textile mill broke out in rashes and nausea. They blamed it on a June bug plague, even though, guess what, no bugs were ever found. That very same year in Tanzania, sweeping stress following the country's recent independence triggered this massive epidemic of uncontrollable laughing, fainting, and respiratory problems among over 1,000 school children. It actually forced schools to close. Or take Delhi, India in 2001. Severe heat waves and power outages sparked a total panic about a part monkey, part man creature attacking people on rooftops. It led to mass terror and people actually getting injured trying to escape. So, what does this all mean? The crucial point is this. Mass hysterias are basically barometers of their time. The physical symptoms are very real, but the imagined causes, whether that's an angry saint, a witch, a poisonous gas, or a monkey man, those causes reveal the unique underlying anxieties of that specific generation.
Section 5. The Modern Diagnosis, the Power of Belief.
Let's bring this explainer home and look at how modern psychology actually understands this. Today, psychologists call what happened to Frautrophia mass sociogenic illness. It's basically when physical symptoms, without any clear medical cause, spread rapidly through a community. Think of it kind of like a reverse placebo effect. With a regular placebo, right, the belief that a sugar pill will heal you actually makes your body feel better. But with mass sociogenic illness, the profound belief that you're cursed or poisoned or infected literally forces your body to manifest genuine, terrifying physical symptoms. And I want to be super clear here to build some empathy for these historical victims. They are not faking it. The pain, the nausea, the paralysis, the overwhelming compulsion to dance, it is absolutely real to the person experiencing it. When we look at the data across centuries, we can easily identify the key triggers that create this perfect storm. First, it almost always requires extreme social stress. We're talking a famine, a war, or severe economic hardship. Second, it requires a community that shares deeply held beliefs. Third, it is massively accelerated by out-of-control gossip, or, in today's world, viral media coverage. And finally, it really thrives in a fragile status quo, where trust in institutions or the future has just completely broken down. When all these things combined, mental anguish simply has nowhere else to go, so it mutates into a contagious physical ailment. I want to leave you with this really powerful thought from Dr. Robert Bartholomew, who is an expert on this phenomenon. He says, mass sociogenic illness is driven by a belief. We all have beliefs, therefore we are all potential victims. It is incredibly easy to sit back and laugh at a town dancing to death in 1518, but as we've seen today, human hardware really hasn't changed. So the question is, in our modern world surrounded by viral media, constant anxiety, and totally unprecedented social stress, what deeply held beliefs might trigger the next great epidemic of the mind? Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and keep questioning what you think you know.